Well, let's go ahead and get started. Let's see. I'm looking at whether I got the appropriate agenda here. I think I do. I think typically we handle meeting minutes first. So let's go ahead and, oh, we got two meeting minutes to approve, March 17th and April 22. Are there any discussion required on that or any changes on those two dates? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I approve. I'd move that the minutes be accepted as written.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Who was the second?
Denise Treehouse. All right, great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Hi, Tony. I just want to confirm this is for both meetings.
Correct. March 17 and April 22.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to our district revenue updates. Ali, you going to take the lead on that, or Michelle?
Yeah, I can take a quick lead, and then Ali, if you've got anything to add. You'll see in attachment B that we have 2020 and 2021 through March, the revenue, and we have seen a slight decrease in revenue, 6.4%. Nothing I think needs to be, that's concerning at this point. The biggest decrease in tonnage was from in-district, which is what we're wanting to see, is a decrease in in-district tonnage, which was about 10%. So if there are any questions, Ali or I can answer.
Any questions out of the policy committee? All right. Okay, Michelle, I should know this by now. We don't have to have a motion to accept this, right?
Nope,
Okay,
you're right.
Thank you. All right, let's move on. Policy committee items. Student representative, Michelle, can you take the lead on that, please?
So sure can. So as you know, every year we have a new student representative, and we accept applications for those. And this position starts in September of every year. And so we've had it for a number of years. This is a one-year non-voting position. And this year, the staff reviewed the application and is recommending Pierce Bruner, who is currently a junior, will be a senior next year at Sycamore Community Schools. And he's done quite a bit of volunteer work in conservation. He wants to study environmental studies when he goes to college. So I think that he would be a great addition to the policy committee. So what you would be voting on would be forwarding that recommendation on to the Board of County Commissioners, who then vote to make the official appointment.
And you're asking for us to
You need me to make a motion?
You're asking us to approve that recommendation, Michelle?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Sue, did you want to make the motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we recommend Pierce Bruner for our student representative.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you. We're going into informational items. Michelle, I'll leave you to take the lead on that. I'm not sure whether you wanted to put the update from the city of Cincinnati in the beginning, end, or somewhere in between.
Yeah, we can start with the update from the city of Cincinnati, Sue, if you want to start. I know Michael's on as well.
Yeah, do you want to go, Michael?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start.
So my name is Michael Forster. I'm the director here for the City of Cincinnati's Office of Environment and Sustainability. Wanted to provide an update to this, this committee here around Cincinnati Municipal Code 730. So the Municipal Code 730, what it is it's a commercial waste haulers franchise. And we require all commercial waste within the City of Cincinnati to be hauled by one of our registered franchisees. In January of this year, the Office of Environment and Sustainability assumed the management of that program. And so what that means is that now all franchisees, bringing on new franchisees, incorporating it into the city's processes will fall within the Office of Environment and Sustainability. So what we're trying to do in our office is a couple of things. One is to make sure that all firms operating within the City of Cincinnati are complying with the law and have obtained a franchise to operate within the city. So when we define commercial waste, we're defining it both as typical commercial waste, but also construction and demolition. And so all of those materials are subject to a gross revenue fee of 20%. And so all registered franchisees must remit and report that fee to the city. The overall goal of the program, obviously, is to increase the costs of waste disposal in the City of Cincinnati, which will then encourage recycling and waste diversion. Both recycling and waste diversion are not subject to that fee. So we have gone through ordinance adjustments and ordinance amendments to better align the program with the goals of OES. We will be in the process of opening up new opportunities for commercial waste haulers within the City of Cincinnati who do not have a franchise to come into compliance. So we will open up a request for proposal for new franchisees here at the end of the month. So any waste hauler that operates within the City of Cincinnati that would like to become a franchisee, the opportunity is now. So that will be open for approximately the next month or so. And then we will close and begin entering into the contract negotiations with ultimate everything signed, executed, and to begin enforcement against non-franchisees in August. So we here in the city are taking very seriously the obligations of this code, and we want to make sure that our franchisees, currently of which we have 4, Rumpke, Republic Services of Ohio, Best Way of Indiana, and Bavarian Trucking Company, those are our current 4 franchisees, are not put at a competitive disadvantage. So we're offering the opportunity for those not in compliance right now to please come into compliance, and then we will begin enforcement of that ordinance in August. I'll throw it there for questions.
Yes, Michael, this is Karen Hurley. I have a question. Is non-compliance a big problem? Do you think there are a lot of haulers currently that do not have registration with your office?
Yeah, actually, to be blunt, yes, it is a fairly large problem within the City of Cincinnati. Some of it may be intentional, some of it may not be. Previously, this program has never really been managed or enforced. And so we're providing the opportunity for all firms to come into compliance. We've also done a significant amount of outreach and education to firms that we are aware that are currently operating in the city without a franchise. So we've sent certified letters out to all notified or to all identified firms, informing them that they are not in compliance and that they have an opportunity to come into compliance. We really see this as a continuum where we are first trying to educate and give opportunity of compliance, and then we will shift to enforcement, which is why it is such a long time frame where we're not looking to really start to enforce this until August, so that we have opportunity for everyone to come online, so that we're, again, the overall goal is to not put anybody at a competitive disadvantage who is complying with the law.
Thank you.
All right. Michael, I know it sounds like you you have just taken this over, so I don't know if you can answer any of the questions I have, but so construction, demolition, debris waste was added when into the program? Was that just?
It was added, I believe, in June of 2020 and became quote unquote came online in October of 2020. And by construction of demolition, we mean those that are disposed at landfills. So if the construction and demolition waste is used as clean hard fill, we would consider that a constructive reuse. And that if you can document that it is being, the key here is documenting end use. But if you can document that it's disposed of in a way that we would consider reuse, then it would not fall under that fee.
Okay, so that kind of answers my second question, which is why there are only 4 companies currently franchised. I assume you're actually maybe pulling in some new, I shouldn't say new companies, but companies before that were only taking C and D waste in, not MSW.
Yeah, so there's that. There's the question of, what type of waste was a company handling? But I think there's also a question of the city's responsibility to market to those currently in this space. Previously the program was on the books, but I think it's fair to say that it wasn't actively managed. And so by coming into the Office of Environment and Sustainability, working with Sue, and our current franchisees partners, we want to make sure that we reach out to all those operating in this space so that they're aware of this requirement to operate in the city.
Does the franchise agreement, does that have additional requirements for safety, insurance, things of that sort? Okay.
So there's a requirement around bonding. There's a requirement around the type of, you must have good standing equipment. There's reporting requirements to the city of Cincinnati. And then of course there's the process around the remittance of the payments to the city. So, we want to encourage waste disposal. We want to encourage recycling, but we also want to encourage good, safe operations within the city.
And do you know, there are any projections been done on what kind of revenues this generates per year? And then are those revenues specifically designated for, like back to your office or to the your Department of Waste Collection for them to use, or is it more go into a general fund?
So I'll say a couple of things on that. One, I'll be completely honest, we don't know what we don't know. We have a very good estimate around what our franchisees are taking in, but commercial waste, construction and demolition, it's not really something that the city of Cincinnati has had a whole lot of data on in the past, which is why we're really giving that opportunity for anyone who's operating in the city to come into compliance. The first and foremost, that's what we want everyone to do. Second of all, around fees, generally, a lot of the fees that the city of Cincinnati does bring in, specifically that are managed by the Office of Environment and Sustainability, I'll speak to those specifically, are generally brought into the general revenue fund and then redistributed according to council's wishes.
I was hoping your answer to that would be no, those funds are specifically designated for your office or the sanitation department for recycling, but
generally all revenue is redistributed according to council's wishes.
Okay, thank you. The policy, any of the other policy committee members have any questions?
Tony, I've got a question. It's Larry.
Yeah, Larry.
Has there been an effort, or will there be an effort to capture any of the small operators? I mean, the 4 that's you've listed are major operators, but we're seeing a pretty big increase in the last couple of years of small operators, the mom and pops that has a trailer pickup truck with sideboards, 4 or 5 yards a load per se.
That's a great question. I think it's important to realize that this is mainly for commercial waste, and we have identified commercial waste as 4 or more units. It's not meant to target your residential junk haulers. So there is specific criteria within the ordinance around what we're going for. That being said, we are working within the city and other departments to incorporate it into our processes. so that, when we work with buildings and inspections, we look at building permits, we look at demolition permits, and we tie some sort of waste hauler to those permits, and so that we can ensure that they are a registered franchisee. There will also be education and outreach materials that are going along with permits as they're pulled. And then again, working with various city departments that offer other permits that a waste hauler may need to pull in order to place their dumpster. But I just think it's important to note that really this does apply to commercial waste. It does not apply to residential waste.
Any other policy committee member have a question?
Yeah,
Bob?
this is Bob. Yeah. Michael, the state and federal agencies have certain requirements on commercial hauling equipment, and yet there is no organized inspections around commercial equipment. And I'm wondering if you're planning on doing an annual or periodic inspection of commercial haulers. I've done that before. It's a pretty large animal to tackle. I'm just wondering if you're planning on doing any type of inspection.
So we'll need to see kind of the quality of information that we receive from the new request from proposals. We have asked for some pretty detailed equipment lists around truck age and type of truck and all of those sorts of things that are going on our street. But it's something that we could look at in the future. But currently there are no plans to go out and visually inspect every single piece of equipment. I think you hit the nail on the head there, Bob, and that's a fairly onerous proposition.
Yeah, just as a follow-up question, and that's a follow-up from Larry's question. I'm not sure if they're mom and pop operations, but I've seen some roll-off equipment and containers for commercial hauling that seem pretty unstable and not secured and leaking material as they drive along the highways. And I've not called it in, but I probably should have. And they don't look like major haulers to me. They're unlabeled trucks without any labeling on the side. And I would say that they're hauling in the surrounding communities as well as in the city of Cincinnati. So I would be concerned with some of the equipment. They look pretty aged, 20-year-old equipment, and in pretty difficult to operate condition.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to bring up, Bob. Again, one of the things that we're going to be doing is integrating this into our permit process so that, as an inspector goes out on site, they will be looking to see that the dumpsters on site are registered franchisees. So, we may not be able to catch all of them, but we want to make it very apparent that the city of Cincinnati is taking this seriously, and we're seriously incorporating it into our processes to ensure compliance.
Raj, you're on mute.
And I apologize. I have about 3 more minutes and then I have to run to another meeting.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, the ultimate, I love the idea of inspections and their compliance with the Oliver, the regulation. Their ultimate destination is Rumpke, coming to the Rumpke, right? Through the Coleraine, correct?
I mean, there's a multitude of dumps.
The hauling, all the stuff, they'll bring into the to Rumpke and Coleraine.
It depends on the contract of the hauler. Ultimately, will the majority end up there? Realistically, probably. But there's other dumps in the area. There's construction and demolition dumps. And then we also, we're asking for offtake agreements around recycling. So if they are collecting recycled materials or diverting materials, we are asking for kind of that information around where that end product ends up. And if they can successfully provide that documentation, then that specific product would no longer be subject to the fee.
Correct. Yeah, I appreciate that their safety is the primary target in this type of project because they'll be coming through Coleraine.
Mhm.
Very important. Oh, yeah. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, Michael, thank you for taking the time to brief us on that interesting development. It's going to change things a lot, particularly since it sounds like there's going to be a more proactive enforcement on the program. So
Yeah, and so what we'll do is we'll end up coming back to this committee when we have the franchisees. And then, of course, we would like the cooperation of the county and any of those that operate projects within the city of Cincinnati to make sure that the haulers that they are hiring are in compliance with our ordinance as well. So specifically from the city's processes, you know, we're starting to go through and look at our permit process, but also our contracting process to make sure that we are hiring franchisees that are registered. And so we just ask that, you know, anybody who is operating within the city of Cincinnati incorporates their hiring practices and their building practices to make sure that they're compliant with this code as well.
very good. Thank you again, Michael.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it, everyone. I got to
Thanks,
run.
Michael.
Thanks.
One other comment is that Deputy Peak, we may want to watch for a change in the open dumping that may be occurring as this program gets instituted. It'll be interesting to see if the quantity and characteristics of the waste change of what we're seeing in terms of illegal open dumping occurring. So, all right, very good.
Hey, Tony. Tony.
Yes.
It's Larry. Hey,
Yeah, Larry.
if you don't mind, I'd like to clarify a point that Raj was making, or maybe his question. It's not necessarily true that anything picked up in Coleraine would come to the RSL facility. If it's a best way a commercial load, it could very well go back to their facility over in Indiana. Any of the other operators, Republic, could go back to their transfer station in Sharonville, or even maybe back over to Kentucky to the landfill there on 71 Bavarian.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a given that it will come back to RSL depending on who the hauler is. Some of it may, but it could go other places.
And also the point, Raj, is that we're incentivizing them not to take it to a landfill. We're incentivizing them to take it to legitimate recycling facilities where it can, you know, be recycled instead of landfill.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you all. Michelle, you want to go ahead and move on to the solid waste plan update?
Yeah, so we have an RFP out right now with Hamilton County Purchasing Department to hire a solid waste consultant to help staff develop the solid waste plan. That those proposals are due June 24th, so I'll have more of an update on that at the July meeting. Staff is also working with purchasing to issue a request for proposals for a diversity, equity, inclusion consultant to work alongside the solid waste consultant and staff and putting the plan together. So we're finalizing that, and I hope that will be out in the next few weeks. And then we are also wrapping up collection of data for 2020. 2020 is considered our reference year for the plan. So staff, especially Susan, is working hard collecting that data and wrapping that up. So hopefully we see a good diversion rate for 2020 to be our reference year. So that's really all I have for the plan update at this point.
All right, thank you. Just go ahead and you can move down those items, Michelle, under.
Sure. If you want to look at attachment C, it has an overview of the waste reduction innovation grants that were awarded since our last meeting. Well, actually since the March meeting. And you'll see on there that we funded 2 communities, Norwood and Silverton, who are developing their own residential composting programs where they're going to be providing education and then compost bins to their residents. We funded a project with Imago and CORV, which stands for Central Ohio River Valley, to use reusable bags at farmers markets. So instead of going to the farmers market and getting a bunch of plastic bags, you'll now get some pretty nice reusable bags that really just promote reuse on them, which is pretty nice. And then the final one that we funded was for Findlay Market's composting facility. And they've had very successful in-vessel on-site composting operation for the last decade. Have been gifted to earth tubs, which are in-vessel composters from Xavier University. So they're expanding their program. They're going to start accepting food scraps from surrounding neighbors. And they're also hoping to get the finished compost tested and bagged so that they can actually sell it in the market and make money for this program. So we are also giving them a grant. And you'll note that we did have one grant that we unfortunately did not fund, which was So Valley. They're a wonderful organization. We've toured what they're doing, but their project just wasn't sustainable. It wouldn't be able to continue beyond the grant year. So we did not fund that one. But any questions, Cher Mooring, who oversees this program, is on the line and we'd be happy to answer any.
Michelle, I got a question. This grant is set aside about $100,000, right? This is like 100,000 fiscal year or for 2021?
Yes, for 2021, we budgeted $100,000 and we've gotten about halfway through those funds, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cher. So it possibly at some point later this year, we will be coming to the policy committee to add more funds to this program. But as of right now, we're doing all right.
How much publicity we give to the communities about this program? How do you reach out to people? How do they know about these grants?
So we definitely get it out to the 48 political jurisdictions in the district. And we do other promotion of it when it first starts on our social media. I'm trying to get it out. And Joy and Tom are on and Cher, you could chime in if you know specifically what we did at the beginning of the year to get the word out about this. I know we also put it in our newsletters.
Yeah, we put it in our newsletters and communities and basically just try to get the word out to whoever we see or have worked with. And we have used so far $47,278.
Thank you. So it's ongoing. People still have the opportunity to apply for this grant. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this revolving or keeping it open is working.
Yes, yes.
So thanks. Good job, Cher.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the grant program. I think it's really fitting a need.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that people don't have to wait a year. Like it's typically, yeah, we can take care of you in a couple months if you got a good project. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Cher.
Thank you.
And yeah, that was my comment too. Keeping it open is, I know it's a lot more work for you, but it looks like it is paying off.
It's worth it.
All right, that wraps up the that item. Michelle, program trends?
Yeah, program trends, it's just the first quarter of 2020. And I was going to mention that we have received 7 applications for the Waste Reduction Innovation Grant, and that we would likely be coming to the policy committee later this year if we continue the speed that we have been. But really, if there's any questions about the first quarter, I'm happy to answer them. But I'd really like to draw your attention to attachment E, which is the 5-year program trends up to 2020, which kind of shows where we're at in the different major programs. And of course, you're going to see a drop in 2020 for quite a few of the programs. For yard trimmings, you'll see the household serves went down. That doesn't mean the number of households went down. We actually had, due to trying to improve the social distancing, we had people not sign in 2020 for most of 2020. So that is why those numbers went down, but the actual number, the tons collected went up. So I don't think that our number of households actually went down. Obviously, with many businesses shut down in 2020, we did see a decrease there, but I'm actually pretty impressed that we almost hit 100 businesses served in the Let's Stop Waste program. For household hazardous waste, we had the 1-day drop off, which would be why the numbers went down in 2020. container loan program, that's for events. Obviously, no events happened in 2020, so that number went down. But the website and hotline have remained steady. We actually did get out quite a few school outreach presentations. Thankful for our education contractors for their virtual programming in the fall. And our social media numbers continue to rise. The number of tire cleanups went down just because some communities weren't able to hold them in 2020. And then finally, our diversion rate, as we spoke about, I believe at the last meeting, did go up in 2019. So you can see in that graph, the little purple line with the X, we're coming out above the pack, so to speak, of our similar sized counties. And we did see in 2020 an increase in the tons recycled residentially, but a decrease in the tons composted. We've not really dug into that data to explain that trend, but overall, the tons recycled went up. So I'm not sure. Any questions about those? Yes.
Michelle, I got a question. Thanks. It's a nice presentation. When I look at the charts, you always see that year 2018, 2019 is pretty much peak. Then again, 2020 kind of went down. I bet the coronavirus pandemic could be the cause. Now, in 2021, what's our strategic goals, objectives to increase the numbers?
We have set goals, and they're tentative goals because we're not exactly sure how quickly things are going to reopen. How many events are actually going to happen. We are getting some interest in events. We are getting a little bit more interest from schools. So I think it will be a slower reopen. I would anticipate that we would not reach 2019 numbers in 2021 just because everything is a little bit slower to reopen. But I think we're going to do better than 2020 would be my estimation.
Thank you.
This is Karen. On that last one, on the residential recycling and composting, how do you measure residential composting?
So it's not backyard composting. It is what communities collect at the curb from their residents. So if they have, some communities actually operate a composting facility like the Village of Amberley. And then some will contract with, will collect it themselves and then bring it to a composter. Some will contract with a company like Rumpke to collect it and compost it. So we get the numbers through that.
Okay.
Ohio EPA actually says we're not allowed to count backyard composting towards our rates. So unfortunately, we can't count those, but we count everything else.
Okay, I was just thank you. Because I would assume that backyard composting continues to build, but that's not something you can track. Okay.
Yeah, until Ohio EPA lets us count it. No.
Okay.
Yeah, the Ohio EPA considers those fuzzy numbers.
And they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Where we at in this list, Michelle? We're at, we down to Deputy Peak Environmental Enforcement?
Yes, we are. So that's attachment F. And a big thanks to Susan for putting together this lovely map that you see in here, and then it's interactive if you get online. We did see an increase in March of, I'm guessing that was all the snow melting and people getting outside of cases investigated. And I know that our public relations staff has been working with Deputy Peak on getting some new promotions out about the environmental enforcement program. And so I invited Joy to explain exactly what they're doing, since we had a conversation about that at the last meeting. So Joy, do you want to kind of give an update on where we're at with the promotion?
Sure. Thank you, Michelle. So Communications Manager Tom Moore and I have both met with Deputy Peak, really to learn more about his successes and his challenges as Hamilton County's Environmental Crimes Officer. And as you all have come to know Deputy Peak, he was a wealth of information, and he's provided us with several examples of cases where his investigations have led to arrests and prosecutions. So our approach will be to use some of this information on past tire and illegal dumping cases in an effort to help folks understand the work that Deputy Peak and the Environmental Crimes Task Force does. One of our main messages, of course, is going to be deterrence, right? We want to demonstrate that oftentimes if you are caught illegal dumping, the fines and court costs cost you more than if you had properly disposed of those materials in the first place. So we're hoping to convey that message, but also, of course, to let the general public know about this program, that it is a resource, that if they have a problem with illegal dumping of tires or other materials in their neighborhood, that they can reach out to us, via a phone call or our website, and that Deputy Peak and his team will follow up on that. So as Tom and I work together with Deputy Peak to generate some media interest in this, we will communicate any anticipated media coverage to the policy committee, if needs be, with via email through Susan Schumacher, or certainly with presentations at future meetings. So that's what I can tell you, and then I'll turn it over to the aforementioned Deputy Peak for additional details about what he's been doing the last several weeks.
So as Michelle indicated, yes, it feels like springtime is the best time to dump, if you will. Real busy, the numbers are up. With Joy and Tom, we're trying to put together a couple cases, as Joy indicated. Had a pretty big tire case that came to positive resolution here in the fall, and then just a nice picturesque case where 5 refrigerators were dumped on a side street in the city, just to show, the process it took, how they were eventually, recovered, got rid of, et cetera, just enhancing the photographs, things like that, explaining the job. Back on March, myself, Brad, and Chuck presented about my position to the Ohio EPA, the Health District Advisory Panel, kind of on the same terms or on the same manner of how we do it here in Hamilton County. And I think what I walked away from there and getting, people giving feedback is I think we have it pretty good here. I'm not quite sure that every other environmental officer in the state has it, I'll say, as good as here, whereas we have a specific housing court that hears these specific cases, where you have a judge that knows me by name, by face, therefore he knows what I'm presenting, on board within fees and fines, and knows what I am presenting in the court is very favorable and, positive. I just don't know, and hearing feedback when we presented back on March, that, any other county has the same. So obviously I wasn't here in the inception. I came at the end of 18, but I think, as Michelle, Brad, or anybody else that's worked hand in hand with me knows, that I feel like we're on a very good path.
Any questions?
I just want to say I'm so happy, Joy, to hear your report about trying to bring this to greater public attention. I really thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I'm
Thank
glad
you.
about that.
Yes, we got, the program off to a really great start when it first launched. If some of you may recall, we had a press conference and we got some terrific coverage from all the TV stations, the Enquirer, NPR. So we want to continue getting that message out and reminding folks. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Good.
Very good. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Deputy. It's a great program. It seems to get better every time we have a policy committee meeting. We hear better and better news on it, even if the numbers were a little bit up in March. So, Michelle, let's see. I think we're down to 2022 budget prep.
I just wanted to give you a heads up that over the next 2 months, staff will be working with Allie to prepare the budget for 2022. And so we'll be presenting that at the next policy committee for your approval.
Okay, thank you. Any suggested tentative future agenda items? All right.
I have something. I had a brief conversation with Michelle about my personal interest in this new recycling hub that's opened up down near the MSD. And there's been public notices to certain organizations, like, for example, my parish had a bulletin announcement about it with very little follow-up information. And when I went down there, I realized I couldn't even get in. But my point is, I wonder if there's something that we as a policy committee need to be better informed about what they're doing and how that interfaces with our recycling efforts, because it's kind of a mysterious area to me. Would that be a possible future agenda item?
Yes. And I'll be the first to say this is the first I've heard of it, although I probably should have known about it, but I'd be interested in hearing about it as well. So Michelle, can we add that?
Yeah, I bet you Colleen McSwigan, I think is her name. I think she would love to give us a briefing. And yeah, I was just in touch with them a couple weeks ago about getting them some recycling containers. They had considered for a moment being a drop-off, but then they decided they don't want to be a drop-off because of the potential dumping that occurs. So you have to go during their operating hours, and their place it's fenced off so that people really can't get in to dump.
All right. Okay, that's good. Thank you very much. We're down to policy committee members' comments. Karen, thanks. That was a good lead in you gave on that. But Commissioner Driehaus or Commissioner Kesterman, did you have any comments you'd like to make at this time?
Greg, I try to allow you to go first. So
Yeah, I didn't mean to catch you guys off guard, but if you had anything off the top of your head, that's fine.
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything either. Thank you.
All right. Let's see, I guess we're down to public comment items. And Michelle, you want to take the lead on that?
Yeah, I was definitely informed. We do have one public member here, Carrie Davis, who would like to give some comments. So Carrie, if you can, when you introduce yourself, if you can say who you're representing, and we do allow for 5 minutes of public comments. So, and I did send out to the policy committee members a few of the documents that Ms. Davis sent me. So you should have those. Thanks. Go ahead, Carrie.
Hey, everybody. My name's Carrie Davis. I'm with Child Advocacy for Rights and Equity, a nonprofit established back in 2003. I started getting into all your business because Rumpke is seeking another permit to expand their landfill in Whitewater Township. And the people in Whitewater and Harrison and Cleves and even Bright, Indiana are pretty upset about the prospect of having a landfill in their backyard. And the primary reason is because they know what's going on in Colerain, and they know that Colerain residents and their complaints about the landfill are not being adequately addressed. And so the community's been searching for almost a decade for a way to remedy the issues with the landfill. And in the course of doing my research, which what I do is legal research on governmental entities' compliance with state policy and law. And I am not an attorney. But anyway, so I started doing some research, and whereas I started out kind of mad, I actually got really excited about what you guys are all doing and your objectives and how you're working so hard to get to those objectives. And the more I read and thousands of pages of documents, the more I saw opportunities, that yes, we have some issues, but fortunately the state law and the EPA has provided us with a basket full of solutions and ways to improve it. And one of the things I remember Todd Portune telling me years ago when he first got on the Board of Commissioners that they assigned him to the solid waste district and how it was an insult to him. It was meant to be degrading and how much he loved it. And now I know what he's talking about because I see that this committee and your objectives can not just deal with solid waste and promote recycling, But in reading all these laws and policies and these plans, I'm seeing so much opportunity to improve our environment and to impact the quality of life for our residents. And one of the things I'm really focused on is our state plan, our county plan. And I think we have 52 districts in the state of Ohio. I haven't even read half of them. But one weakness we have is that when we did this plan, and none of you were around back then that I'm aware of, we kind of, as Mike said, we got something, we've got policies on the books, but they weren't active. And the primary one I'm concerned with is our authority to cite landfills. I never realized that your board and the commissioners have the authority to determine where landfills are cited. And I had planned on doing a 30-minute presentation, but Michelle said you guys aren't ready for that because I'm just too in depth. And so I gave you a one-page flyer. And what that flyer is an example of what Butler County has in their solid waste plan as far as their citing policy. The rules they follow if somebody wants to put a landfill or they have the need to put a landfill in Butler County. Now, mind you, they don't have a single landfill out there. Based on the reports I've read, doesn't mean things haven't changed since that report happened. But you can see in their plan the quality of life issues and the environmental issues reflected in their plan. And these things aren't really covered well by the EPA. They're really geared toward best available technology and the operation of the plant and that kind of thing, where it's kind of like on-site activities is what EPA is worried about. But what you all are charged with and have the authority to work with is off-site, the impact of a landfill off-site. And we have been deferring to the private industry for years. We don't even have a citing strategy, which we are required under the
Carrie,
statute
you've got
to have.
30 more seconds.
Oh, okay. But anyway, we are required under the statute to have a citing plan. We should have had one a long time ago. So I would request, since this planning update takes so long, that we actually pursue an amended plan and put this on the fast track, because we're in violation of law. We need to have a strategy. We have active changes occurring in our community. And I would like to see us pursue amending our state plan now and to promulgate the appropriate rules. Most of the other solid waste districts have rules, and we don't have a single rule, not one. And Butler County doesn't even have a landfill, but they got rules and they've got a strategy. And here we are taking in more than half of the garbage coming into Hamilton County is from outside our district. And so we're carrying the load for the region and even other states. And we don't have a strategy for citing or designating landfills. So that's what I'm asking for is I think we need to form a committee, because this is a lot of work, devising the plans and stuff. And I don't think your board has the ability to sit down and delve into this to the level necessary. So I'm asking you to get in compliance with law, amend our plan, adopt a strategy for citing our landfills. And I'll hush now, since I'm sure my time's up.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Davis. Appreciate you holding it to our time frame on that. You bring up some interesting points, and I think as Michelle has indicated, that we are looking into it from our side, and we want to come to a better understanding of those state law requirements that you just cite it and where the district stands relative to those requirements. And I know you're already aware that we're looking to do a plan update, which is actually mandated by state law as well. So I think that's it. We appreciate you taking the time to come in and make this presentation to us. We honestly don't get many people coming in making public comments, so it's always good to see that coming in. We are kind of I don't want to say hidden, but many people just don't know that that there even is a solid waste district, in spite of a lot of publicity that we do have, and a lot of things that the district does in terms of programs which are focused on the waste reduction and recycling and composting side of things. So again, thank you for that.
I would appreciate it if somebody could inform me. I've made a proposal to you all. So what happens now? I don't know. I've made a proposal. Does it just sit? What happens next?
Well, you gave us a lot of information in a very short time period there within your 5 minutes. I think we need to take a look at it and we'll give it obviously due consideration. We need to, as is indicated, we need to bring ourselves up to speed on the whole authority and existing provisions that we have in our plans relative to citing of landfills, meaning citing criteria, not citing them for violations or things of that sort, and go from there. So we have to do our work on this end right now, Ms. Davis. I think that's where we are.
Can I interject something?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, so I want to add that this is an issue that has come to the board. I'm getting communications. I assume my colleagues are as well. And so we've got the prosecutor looking into this issue as well from the board level, and are trying to figure out where our authorities lie as well.
Hey, Tony, can I say something? Can you hear me?
Sure, Raj. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Davis also communicating with me. She's sending a lot of information. I also just briefly talked to her. Something that, like you mentioned earlier, something new information came into this the committee. We might maybe next meeting or follow meeting do some more extensive research and work with the commissioner, the board of commission, the commissioners, so what we can do for the county.
All right. Well, thank you. I think our next item here is our next upcoming district meeting, policy committee district meeting. And we have that down for Wednesday, July 21, 1:30. Same time, obviously. We may be meeting in person. That's sort of still up in the air. We have to see how that develops. These days, 3 months off is a long time. As Commissioner Kesterman could probably tell you, relative to COVID. So we'll see where we stand at that point. But right now, it's planned as a Zoom meeting, and we'll keep it that way. If that changes, we'll certainly let everyone know. And Ms. Davis, I assume you know our routine scheduled meetings as well at this point. So.
And I'm going to be what I'm working on this, sir, is learning. I'm learning still. This is complex and there's a lot of detail. If you just focus on the citing issues and the authority with that. But one thing I'm doing is going through all the plans in the state of Ohio to assemble for you all samples of what, other communities are doing so that you can see all the plans have been approved by the EPA. So that's the good thing about looking at what others have done. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So that's one of the things I'm prioritizing right now is going through all the other districts and finding out what they've put in their plan that's been approved by the EPA. So we know we're allowed to do it because the EPA approved it. And working and providing that information in a succinct way. So you don't have to read the thousands of, literally, every one of these reports is 400 pages long. So that's a whole lot of scanning and reading to do and to summarize that for you. And so at the next meeting, I believe I've been told I can have a 30-minute presentation, and that will be my primary focus, is on the sampling of the rules and the siting plans of all the other districts in Ohio and even in Kentucky, because this is actually derived from federal law. And so this is being done all over the country, not just in Ohio.
All right, Ms. Davis, thank you. And as you have done, I'd appreciate it if you can work through Michelle on that, because she's sort of our central focus and coordinating person for it. All right, with that, kind of a motion to adjourn. Sue, Raj, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And we'll see you in July, hopefully.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Later.